What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm doing a first impression of the new Maybelline Dream Urban Cover Foundation. This was #1 on my list of new foundations that I wanted to try. And let me just tell you, my list is growing because there's so many new ones that are coming out, but I thought that I would kick things off with one from the drugstore. So let's jump right into it. What is this all about? It's a lightweight foundation with SPF 50 that's rich in antioxidants. It helps to protect the skin from pollution. It's supposed to be full coverage to cover imperfections, and there's 16 shades to choose from. Not too many options. With that said, I did have to pick up two. I got the 215 Almond, which I think is going to be a little bit darker than my skin tone, and then the 128 Warm Nude, which should be a little bit lighter than my skin tone. I'm probably gonna have to mix the two to make this work, but packaging wise, it comes in a squeeze tube. You get your standard amount of product in here. There's 30 ml of product. As for price, it's $15.99 if you're in Canada, $12.99 if you're in the US. Now let's do some swatches. I'm gonna start off with 215 Almond. This should be darker than my skin tone. Yep, definitely looks to be darker, much darker. And here's 128 Warm Nude, which is the lighter of the two. I have some blemishes, which works out for the video, not really for real life, but that one looks to be better. Probably still not my perfect match, but I'm gonna give these a few minutes to dry down and see if they get darker, which they always do. They definitely got darker, they oxidized a bit. First one, completely wrong, way too dark for me. And then the one in the back, the lighter, it looks like it could work, but on its own, I think that's just gonna be the wrong tone. It looks to be too yellow, so I'm probably, and a little bit too light actually. I'm probably gonna have to mix, which I really don't like to do, but we're gonna do it. Here's a look at them before I mix them together. You can see they're pretty fluid-like. They're kind of running down a little bit. Let's do a little mixeroo. And it says to apply the foundation to the skin and blend with fingertips, a beauty sponge, or a makeup brush. For this side of the face, I'm gonna stick to a brush. And it says that it gives you a natural looking finish. Now, what's interesting is I couldn't find on Maybelline's website what the formula was best suited for, like oily, dry. So I'm sure by the end of this, we will know. That smoothed over those blemishes I have pretty nicely. I'm gonna try adding some to the rest of my face now. Cheek, nose, chin. How do we feel about this color? It seems to be working. It's probably oxidizing as I'm talking right now, so let's give it a few more minutes to settle. But so far, so good. I'm gonna try and build up the coverage a little bit more on my cheek because I'd say that's pretty sheer right now with one layer all over. I'm getting in and around my nose, and I am happy to report that it is not scented, which I like. And I would say now, after 2 layers, I'm still seeing a pretty sheer medium coverage. It did smooth me out really nicely. It got rid of the redness, the freckles. I can still kind of see them peeking through here. Same thing with the blemishes. It smoothed over them, can still kind of see them, but it's not bad. I think I'm gonna let it try to, ooh, a lot of transfer. I'm gonna let it try to dry down a little bit and work on the other side. And for this, I'm gonna use a sponge instead. So I'm gonna apply the foundation, blend it out with a sponge, and see how this is gonna do. That looks pretty sheer. It might even be more sheer than the side that I used the brush with. Let's try a little bit more product. On the cheeks especially, because this is where I have the most pigmentation with my freckles. It's not that I really want to cover them up, but it says that it's full coverage, so let's test it. Let's push it to the limit. And that is 2 layers. I would say I definitely see more coverage with the brush. That's usually the case. You can kind of stipple the product on a little bit more. But I'm still seeing a pretty medium coverage, a sheer medium. So I think what I'm gonna do is, oh yeah, a little bit. It's kind of dried down a little bit, not so much this side. I'm gonna try and add a little bit more coverage to these cheeks and see if we can build it. Okay, so what's happening is I'm applying more foundation to try and build up coverage, but it's not sticking to the skin. It's just kind of moving all over the place. And that is therefore causing like brush strokes. So I kind of want to go in and use my sponge to blend those out, but then that's shearing it out even more. And I just don't think I'm going to be able to get that full coverage that it claims, simply because it's just too rich for my skin type. I have combination skin, and this is usually what happens to me when I use a foundation that's just too hydrating for my skin. Just doesn't want to seem to dry down on its own, which this is not doing. It's just, I feel pretty greasy. So for anybody who has oily skin, I don't know, I think you're probably going to be freaked out at this point because you're going to feel greasy. With that said, because it is so hydrating, it did just smooth over my pores really nicely, but you can see like, oh, it's just kind of thick on my skin, doesn't want to blend in. Okay, under eye concealer is on, hair is up. That's how you know I mean business. I truthfully just had to get it away from my face because it kept sticking. But now I'm gonna set with the Honest Beauty Translucent Loose Setting Powder. Let's hope I don't get this everywhere. Like the first time I showed it to you in my Target haul video, it flew everywhere. And I'm just gonna tap this. I'm gonna tap this everywhere too, because I can tell you right now, my face is gonna need it in order to keep this on all day. That was a little bit of a struggle just because powder stuck to certain areas more than others because the base was just so wet. But let me give you a time check. It's 11:28 in the morning. Fingers crossed this is gonna work for me. This is also a really good example now that this is a medium coverage on me, because you can really see the freckles, more so on this side, the freckles popping through. The blemishes are concealed, but you can still see them a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but this is definitely what I consider more of medium coverage. Makeup is on. I gotta admit, that was a struggle. That was a lot of work, more work than I want to put into making a foundation work in the mornings, but all that aside, I have it on. I am pleasantly surprised with how it looks. It looks really nice to me. I think I'm just surprised by how rich it was and how it looks normal now, but again, it took work to getting it to this point. One more thing I wanted to mention before I go on with my day is that I said this is SPF 50 in here. So I looked at the ingredients. They tell me that it is a chemical sunscreen because the ingredients are the ones that are in chemical, except surprisingly enough, it doesn't have oxybenzone, which they say is probably the most harmful ingredient in chemical sunscreens. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they always talk about oxybenzone, and it doesn't have that in it. You guys know I've mentioned this before. I've been trying to make the switch to a physical sunscreen, but I had to try this foundation. Just wanted to give you the facts that it is chemical, not physical. Now that leads me into the final thing that we got to talk about, and that is, does it have flashback? I'm gonna say no, doesn't look to be doing anything too crazy, so that's a plus. I have you guys propped up on a pillow. Don't fall. It is 6:26, haven't done any touch-ups. I, to be honest, don't even feel the need to do any because I'm not overly greasy, which is kind of surprising considering how greasy I felt when I first applied this. I do kind of think I had to use too much powder in order to set the foundation, and it feels a little dry, like it feels a little bit tight. I'm not crazy about that feeling. When I get up close, you can see what it really looks like. You can totally see that it's more of that medium coverage because you can see just how much the freckles are coming through, the blemishes. I'm not loving the chin. That was all nose. I am sorry, but that is my check-in for right now. It's 9:57. I'm a little bit shiny. I've noticed a lot of wear off underneath my nose, a lot of separation going on the chin, and it looks cakey. It was really dry earlier on, and now it's just a mess. And I also have another blemish to add to the family. I don't think it has anything to do with the foundation, but it's just a nice addition, I gotta tell ya. Let me start off by saying I think I got a pass on this because the formula just wasn't for me. It was a bit too rich for my liking and just kind of a struggle for me to use. I'd recommend this for somebody who's looking for a natural looking sheer to medium coverage. Maybe somebody who likes using BB creams, because this did remind me of one. And I'd say if you have dry skin, it's worth a shot. You might actually really like it. For me, I think I'd rather stick to the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. I love that foundation and it works really well for combination skin. And finally, the color selection. It was pretty poor. So even if I did love this, I don't know if I'd reach for it all that often because I wasn't able to find my perfect match with just one shade. And I really don't like to mix. So that's it, you guys. Let me know what you think of it if you've tried it, and leave me a comment and let me know what foundation you want to see me talk about next. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Come back next week for a brand new one, and I will see you all then. Bye.